Hello, and welcome to the Sarah Seams podcast. My name is Sarah. This is episode 29. I'm coming to you from Columbus, Ohio, where I live with my partner Troy and our cats Alex and Moo, who have been especially bad lately. Today is Saturday, April 20th. It is a beautiful sunny spring day here in Columbus. It's about almost noon. And I have a lot of exciting new things to share with you today. I have 4 finished objects, 6 works in progress, which are all new cast-ons. So normally I show all of my works in progress that I have worked on in the past couple of weeks. Today I'm only showing new cast-ons. I'll talk about that more when I get to that section. But yeah, I have lots of fun things to talk about in the chat section and something else fun I'm doing this afternoon that I'll talk more about then. So with that being said, let's jump right in. The first thing I'm going to talk about is what I'm wearing. So this was a recently finished sewing project, and this is the Collage Gather Top by Matching Sewing Studio. Let me stand up so you can see it. Maybe I can scoot back a little bit. So this is my second time making this top. It's a pattern that I really enjoy, and I'll make it again. I really want to try making one of the short sleeve versions. So this, I'm a little scatterbrained. I made the size extra large, no modifications. Oh, that's a lie. On my first version, I made no modifications, but I found the sleeve opening to be a bit tight. So on this version, I just added 1 additional inch to that sleeve binding so that I could have a little bit more ease of movement there in the sleeve. Otherwise, no modifications. This really fun fabric is a vintage kind of rainbow check that I picked up recently at an antique market. I got a ton of this fabric. I had like 6 or 7 yards, I think, and I got it for $10. So you can see this top has these really cute gathered panels on the side, and then the back is the same as the front. This is the long sleeve version, which has these fun poofy sleeves that are gathered at the top and the bottom. The short sleeve version, the bodice is the same, and then it just has a cuff that goes here instead of having the puffed sleeve. But yeah, I really would like to make a short sleeve version as well. Super easy to wear. Right now I'm just wearing it over top of a black linen orchard dress. That's another pattern I've made many times. That one's by Helen's Closet. But yeah, it's just super lightweight, nice to wear. It has a bias bound neckline, pretty quick and easy sew. So this fabric, like I said, I bought a ton of it for $10 total at this antique mall. And my first attempt at sewing with it was to make the Estella dress by Paper Cut Patterns, which is a really pretty like wrap style. It's one of those dresses where in theory you can wear it like 4 or 5 different ways, like tie it in the front, tie it in the back, and then it has like an elasticated waist skirt. It was a total sewing fail. And I feel like it's important to share those too. So I just want to tell you, I spent hours fussy cutting this pattern out to like match up the color of the stripes and all of this. And this is ultimately on me for not making a muslin, but I generally have a good sense of a pattern. Like I can look at a pattern and know what type of adjustments I'm gonna need to make. Not always the case, but usually I'm willing to risk it. And this was just a case where it did not work out for me. I started sewing this. I was really excited about it. Right off the bat, my first fear was that this fabric was just too sheer to be a dress with no lining. And ultimately, I think that would have been true. I probably would not have been comfortable wearing it without like a slip or something underneath, which isn't really how I like to wear my summer dresses. So that was strike number 1. And strike number 2 was that this pattern just did not fit me at all. I thought surely with the elasticated waist skirt, that's adjustable. Surely with the wrap top, that's also adjustable. No, it was just like a total mess and kind of a complicated sew that I wasn't really enjoying. So I just scrapped it. I cut the skirt off and reused those pieces to make this top. When I was making this, I did a little bit of fussy cutting just to like right here, you can see there's a seam here, but I got these like yellow stripes to match up. So, but not as much as the dress. And ultimately, I think this fabric is much more well suited to a top than a dress anyway, and I'm really happy with it. And I do have a bunch of that fabric left still if I ever wanted to make anything else, like maybe a short sleeve version or any bag lining. It would be great as a bag lining. So yes, ultimately happy with where we ended up, but just wanted to tell you about my failure also, because it's not always sunshine and rainbows. But you know, I feel like with sewing, I have more of these like ups and downs, and it used to really bother me a lot if a project didn't work out, especially if you invested a lot of money in the fabric, which nowadays I'm much more willing to like take a risk like that with a cheaper fabric than I would be with like a really expensive fabric. So yeah, that's my little spring sewing update. I have the sewing bug for sure. There's like quite a few other things I would like to be sewing, and I do think I will be purchasing some fabric soon because I've worked almost entirely through my fabric stash. I have a lot of what I have left are like fall and winter fabrics, and I'm kind of learning about myself that now that I knit so much as well, I tend to want to be doing that a lot more in the winter. So I think I need to lean a little bit more into the spring and summer sewing and save those fall and winter fabrics for another time. Okay, that was a lot about sewing. Let's jump into knitting. So I have my notes over here if you see me looking over. I should also say all of my social media information and links to all of the patterns I'm going to talk about today will be in the description box for the video, which I think YouTube recently did a little redesign. It seems like it's now next to the video instead of below the video. So if you have a hard time finding that, just leave me a comment and I'll help you out. But all that information should be in that. But I keep saying down below, but now it's next to the video. All right, so my second finished object and my first knit finished objects are a pair of socks, which I have since gifted. So I'm going to put a picture of them in here. These are the basic sock #1 pattern from Summer Lee's new book, which I'll show here in a minute, the sock project. And these are the heel flap and gusset recipe. So basic as it gets, top down, heel flap and gusset sock. I'm just really enjoying kind of revisiting all these basic like building blocks of sock knitting in Summer's book. I knit the size medium, which was 64 stitches around. And I have since, like I said, sent these to my friend as a gift for her birthday. So the main yarn I used, the like purple variegated yarn, was from MJ Yarns. Here's the label. It is their Sophista Sock base, which is a 75% superwash merino, 15% nylon, 10% tencel blend, which is kind of an interesting blend. The color was called Purple Moss, and I picked this up at Pike Place Market in Seattle when we were out there in the fall, which is also a perfect gift for my friend because some of her family used to live out there and she would go visit. So yeah, it all just kind of worked out. The contrast color on the cuff, that is Lang Yarn's Shawl, which is like their little 50-gram sock yarns. And I do not know the color, unfortunately, but I think those two ended up being a fun pair. And I'm really happy with how these turned out. I feel like a lot of times when I'm knitting my own like vanilla sock recipe, I'm just kind of winging it. And it was really nice to like rein it back in and like focus on all the little details of a basic sock. And I feel like they turned out like perfectly. So I'm really, really happy with those. Next up, I have two pretty big finished objects. One of them I did not fully expect to finish, but I did. So let me show it to you. I finished my Melt Shawl by Andrea Mowry. So I don't know how on earth to show this thing to you because it is enormous. Here it is. There's no way I'm gonna get this all on the camera. All right, so this is the Melt Shawl by Andrea Mowry. It is a DK weight shawl, which was so delightful. Has a beautiful striped I-cord edge, and it alternates sections of garter stripes and brioche, and then lace in the main color as well. So you start at this end and you increase forever. And then it has this really, really beautiful variegated lace border at the end with all the colors striped in. So let me tell you about my yarns. So I will also say, as far as the size of this is the smaller size of the shawl, which is unbelievable to me because it's so massive. The length that I got is spot on. It blocked out just to the length specified in the pattern. However, my depth at the, where'd it go? Here we go. I'm showing it to you upside down. Okay. The depth of mine at this point here is like significantly longer than specified in the pattern. And let me tell you why I think that is. So the main color that I used here, this purple, was, I have 3 skeins of this yarn that I purchased in a D-stash, and it was Julie Asselin. It is the Lizu DK base. The color is Jardin de Tuileries. It was 90% superwash merino, 10% silk. And when it blocked, it has such a like beautiful drape now. And it's so soft. However, I do think that superwash and silk content is what just pulled the length of that center part of the shawl down. I'm definitely not mad about it. I do think it makes it a little bit harder to wear wrapped around like a scarf, just because that point is so long. My other yarns, my bee yarn, which was this pretty rusty orange here, that was a secondhand skein of Madeline Tosh Twist DK in the color Canyon Bends. And then last but not least, the pattern calls for 3 of the same like DK base, but I decided to use one of my colors, Surrey Alpaca Held Double, and that is a little bit hard to show the color, but it was this really pretty like color changing, or not color changing, variegated Surrey that I had, and that I purchased from Frogget Yarns, which is a yarn chuck, and it is a pretty classic like Surrey Alpaca Silk lace weight blend. And I purchased that at the Wool Gathering in, is that what it's called? Yeah, the Wool Gathering in Yellow Springs last summer, which I'm looking forward to going to again this year, but they moved it to September, so we're gonna have to wait a while. Anyway, so yes, it turned out beautifully. I love it. Like I said, it does, because this point is so long, it does make it a little bit more challenging to wear it as like a scarf. Like, I think it still looks pretty good. It's just like, it's big. And a lot of Andrea Mallory's patterns have this like asymmetrical triangle shape where you end up with the point kind of on the side, which I don't mind. I think it shows off that border like really nicely. And it's just like a really big, cozy, squishy shawl. But I think the way I'll wear it more often, and I was even wearing it this way this morning, was just like, I was in my craft room, it was a little chilly in the morning, and I just kind of wrapped it around me like this. And then you can really see those pretty lace panels, the diagonal brioche and garter stripes. And then on the back, you can kind of see that lace detail a little more. But I think it's like almost like blankety, like it's so big. So I am really happy with how it turned out. I feel like I'm in like a tiny box and this thing is just like too big to exist in this box, if that makes sense. Anyways, yes, very happy with how it turned out. The only reason I finished this really is because we had some friends visiting, and I'll talk more about this in the chat section. And then we had the eclipse, and it was just a really busy weekend last weekend, 2 weekends ago. And I just needed like a day to myself, and I woke up with a migraine and wasn't feeling very well on that Tuesday. And I ended up taking the day off and staying home to like sleep off my migraine. And then when I woke up, all I did the entire day was just sit and knit on this, and I finished all of the knitting that was left in that day and just had to do the I-cord bind off the next day. And I probably knit like 10 or 12 inches on this in that day. Like I was just like nonstop. So if it weren't for that unusual circumstance, I definitely would not have had this finished, but I am really happy that I do. I'm still not 100% sold on these colors for me. I think they look really good together. I'm very like happy with how it turned out. I'm just not 100% sure if they're my colors. So I'm gonna keep it around for a little while, see if I reach for it like in that capacity, like I said, where I'm just a little chilly in the morning. Excuse me. And if not, I might end up finding a new home for it. But I enjoyed knitting it so much. I could definitely see myself making another one in the future, and I'd highly recommend it. I also had no plans to enter Andrea Mallory's March to May knit along, but then I knit this in the allotted time period, so I did go ahead and enter it into her March to May knit along, which is for shawls and sweaters. And I think if you started this now, you would definitely have time to finish it by the end of May if you worked on it like pretty consistently. Excuse me, let me grab a drink. Got some lovely iced tea. Anyway, so yeah, I really recommend it. I think a DK weight shawl, it works up quickly. It's really satisfying, very comfortable in the hands, and it's nice to wear. It has like a real weight to it that a fingering weight shawl doesn't necessarily have. So highly recommend. Going over here now. Okay, last but certainly not least, I have a finished sweater. And I'm really proud of myself for finishing this. I think I mentioned on the last podcast, I wanted to try and finish it. I almost hibernated this project, and then I picked it up and I started feeling how nice the yarn was and just thinking about everything I could wear it with. And I just decided to finish it, and I did that within like 10 days of deciding to finish it. So this is my, I don't know if it's yun or un sweater. A lot of people are knitting this right now, and I've heard it pronounced multiple ways. So I've been calling it the yun sweater, so I'm just gonna go with that. This design is by November Knits. It is available up to a 66-inch bust. I made size 5, which was a 54-inch bust, giving me about 10 inches of positive ease, and it did come out right at that measurement after blocking. And here it is. You can see my little elastic there. So yes, here it is. Sorry, it's been folded up. The yarn is Durham Natura's Gilead. This is their worsted weight 100% wool base. It is so soft. This is one of my favorite yarns ever. I'm learning that this is my favorite type of yarn. These like 100% wool, super soft, super light woolen spun yarns that are just, I mean, it's so soft to the touch still. Like there's no prickle at all, but it's 100% natural wool, and it's just so light. It weighs like nothing. It's beautiful and I love it. This color is called Cacao. And I'm so glad that I decided to finish it because it really did not take long at all. And I absolutely love how it turned out. So let me put a little video in here of me wearing it so you can see. I'm just wearing it over the same black dress I'm wearing under this top right now. I have worn this multiple times already. We've still had a few colder days, and I've definitely found times to wear it still in the spring. And I think it's the kind of thing that I could wear year round, like inside in the air conditioning, at home with leggings, if I just want to be cozy or whatever. So yes, you can see poking out. I did add some elastic thread along the bottom of the neckband just to bring that in a bit. The first time I wore it without that, I did notice that it was just getting wider and wider and wider. So I did go ahead and add that just along the bottom of the collar there to help keep that held in, and that works great. At first I had added a second strand along the top of the collar to help it from like standing up and get that to kind of pull in as well. That I did not like the feel of it all. It made me feel like the sweater was like strangling me. So I took that out. It definitely stands up a little bit straighter than I might normally like, but it doesn't really bother me. It's a double folded collar, so it's just a chunky boy. And yeah, it really doesn't bother me. So yeah, hopefully you could see in the video, and I realized I was drifting over, so maybe my face was covered up by the video that whole time, but I'm so happy that I decided to finish it, and I'm just proud of myself for finishing it. I don't know why it is sometimes I think I really just needed a break from it. You know, when I put it down, there was some reason that I put it down. And as I speculated before, I think it was because I had just started this ribbing and I felt daunted by the amount of ribbing that there was. But after it sat for 6 months, I picked it back up, it didn't seem that bad. So I knit almost both entire front and back ribbed panels as well as both sleeves since picking it back up. And like I said, I think I did that in about 10 days. So it really did not take that long, and I love it so much. I could definitely see myself making another one in the future. I think like a heather gray one would be amazing. Maybe like, or Newton. I don't know. I feel like knitting for Olive like heavy merino with mohair would be a great version as well. So yeah, I could definitely see more of these in my future. I think this is gonna kind of be like a year-round sweater for me, even though it's quite big and heavy, it's still very light. So I love it. I definitely recommend the pattern. I definitely recommend the yarn. And this is my second kind of big, like oversized sweater that I have knit, period, and finished this year. And I'm learning that this is like one of my favorite types of sweaters to wear. And I need to probably knit more things like this, and maybe a little bit, a bit fewer like super cropped, like tighter fitting kind of sweaters, which I do like those as well. But I feel like this is where my heart is, in the cozy sweaters. So that is it for finished objects. Couple of big ones, couple really exciting ones. Let me pause here and move on to whips. Okay, so today for whips, as I mentioned, I'm going to be only showing new cast-ons since the last episode. And there are six of them. I didn't even really realize how many there were until I started pulling all my whips, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's way too many. I think I have 10. No, that's not even right. I think I have 11. No, 10 is right, not including blankets. So including blankets, I currently have 13 active whips, which is a lot, and I definitely can't show them all every episode. So I just started pulling these and I was like, wow, I have 6 new cast-ons. Some of them I made like a significant amount of progress on. So I'm just gonna show these today. Things that I'm still working on that I'm not showing today are the Poetry Pullover Mohair edition, which I have made some progress on it in the past couple of weeks, but I'm just working on the body, so it's not that much of an exciting update. Definitely didn't finish it in time for Taylor Swift's new album, which came out yesterday, and that's okay. I also haven't finished listening to the album yet. I know that may be shocking, but I'm trying to like focus on it when I listen to it, so I'm gonna hopefully listen to the second like part today. So I'll reserve my takes. Let me know what you think of the new Taylor Swift album in the comments below, if you're a Swiftie. Okay, so my poetry pullover. Made some progress, but not showing it today. The Fortuna's Wheel pullover, which is the black and white colorwork extravaganza from Pom Pom magazine. I made progress on. I completely redid the neckband, but it doesn't look like I made any progress. So I will talk more about that at a later date once when I've finished the yoke. That one is just pretty slow going for me. What else? My friend, the little Hannah cardigan that I'm knitting for my friend's son. I put some work in on the body, but again, it's not anything new to show. And I think that is it. I've also put a ton of work actually into my crochet scrappy granny square blanket, but I'm gonna save that to show in the next episode. So those things are still being worked on, but we're not gonna look at them today. So starting with the first new cast on, socks, of course. So I finished the basic sock number 1 from Summer Lee's book. I have basic socks number 2 on the go, another project I'm not sharing today because they're just kind of my car socks right now, not that exciting of an update. And I cast on basic sock number 3. So this is the book I am talking about. It is the Sock Project by Summer Lee Designs. I love this book a lot. I love Summer. I love Summer's podcast, which she's recently been starting back up. I can link that below. It's just a great book for anyone from beginners to experts, I think. Like the patterns really go from basic to like intense color work. And I'm planning to knit a lot of them, so I'm very excited about that. Basic sock number 3, where to put this, is the forethought heel. So I just finished knitting the first one right before I sat down. So none of the ends are woven in or anything, but here it is. So yes, since none of the ends are woven in, you can see we've got some holes here at the heel that are going to need to be dealt with, but you get the idea. And it's also not blocked, so it's a little bit hard to show, but this pattern starts out with a really cute little folded stockinette cuff, which I've never done on a sock before. So it has a pop color on the inside, again, stockinette, that's folded, and then you start the main color on the outside, but you do just get that little bit of the pop color rolling over to the outside, which is really cute. These are obviously shorties, which I don't knit enough of. One of my sock knitting goals this year was to knit some more shorties. So these were really fun. They worked up really quickly. The main color I have actually knit socks with before. I knit the ruffle shorties from also a Summerly pattern previously. And I love this yarn. I think it knits up so beautifully. The variation is super fun. I love those pink and brown and orange stripes on that blue base. So the leg is just that. I just knit a few rows of cuff before putting in the row for the forethought heel, and then knitting the leg, and then the toe and the heel are knit in this solid silvery blue color, which I believe is Kelborn Woolen's Perennial. I think. This is definitely, these are just like scraps. These are all scraps. The pink, I think, is also Lang Job Wool. I don't know the color. But yeah, I just have kind of been scrap stash diving to make a lot of these basic socks and having a fun time doing it. So it's so hard to show when it's not blocked. I just want it to be flat. But yes, I think that like solid heel and toe are really cute on there. I love the little pop of pink from the inside. And yeah, I'm excited to start the second one. They fit perfectly. I'm so pleased. On the last episode, I was talking a lot about, probably too much, about how the other pair I'm knitting right now, the basic sock number 2, which is the afterthought heel, they turned out way too long, and how I needed to adjust my starting number for my socks and give myself a little bit more negative ease in the length of my sock. So I did that for these and they fit perfectly. So I'm really, really pleased with that. I think I may end up doing some sock surgery on the one that was too long, but we'll see. So yes, I feel like I finally nailed like the correct length that I need to be knitting my socks to, and that feels really good for going forward. So yes, I will get all the ends woven on this guy probably this afternoon and start the second one. Okay, next is a new shawl. So I finished my melt shawl and then I immediately wanted to cast on a new shawl. So I feel like I at one point would have told you that I was not a shawl knitter, and I think that I am now. I think I like knitting all different types of things. I think I just maybe didn't find or feel that I had a use for shawls. And it's definitely true that I wear them around the house more than I do going out. However, I do really enjoy knitting them. There is something very freeing about not having to worry about the fit. Like even if the dimensions turn out off, like my melt shawl, which was too long, like I can still find a way to style it and wear it, which is not always the case with a garment. So I do feel like there's something just very like weightless and easy about working on shawls, which I love, and you get to play with color and stash, which I also love. So I immediately cast on another one. And I'm going for a really popular one this time. This is the Vertices Unite by Stephen West. I will put in a picture of what it looks like. It's a modular design. It's very, very popular. There's a lot of projects. So you basically knit each section at a time. So let me show you the yarns that I'm using. Totally went stash diving for these. I had these yarns at one point when I was making a Merit cardigan, which was like an all over colorwork cardigan. I frogged that because the design is super not size inclusive and I just didn't feel good about it. So I am now reusing those yarns for this. The other reason is that I wanted a shawl with a little bit more structure that was not made with superwash yarns. And I feel like so far I have one like beautiful like neutral shawl, two that are purple now, and I wanted one that was in the blue family, or at least cooler colors. So the main color, well, I guess it's 5 or 6 different colors, so there isn't really like a main color, but the largest color is going to be this navy Barocco Lannis Light, which I've used in a few other projects. I really enjoy this yarn. It's pretty affordable, and I think it's great as like a main or background color. And then I'm using a bunch of colors of Knit Picks palette, which is their fingering weight Peruvian Highland wool base. So I am using the next like color B, the one that I'll have the second most of is Chicory, which is probably my favorite one, which is just like this really beautiful kind of light blue periwinkle color. I am also using Majestic, which is like a true indigo, I feel. It's like bordering on purple. It's almost like an ultraviolet kind of color. These colors are all very saturated, which is fun. I am using Celestial, which is a really bright royal kind of blue. And then the one I will have the least of is this, which I do not know the name of. I got this one secondhand and it's a little bit more purple. So it's most similar to Chicory, the first color, but it's a little bit more purple than that. So yes, there's not like the colors are all fairly close to each other, but there is good contrast with the navy. So I started the first section and here it is. Oops, sorry, I'm losing yarn off the table here. Okay, so the first section is just like a bazillion rows of striped garter. So this is the biggest section, which is kind of nice to just knock that out of the way. I almost said out of the park, which doesn't make any sense. But yeah, it's gonna take a while and that's fine. I'm not in any hurry with this. I just wanted to have something like this cast on that I could work on when the mood strikes. So I think these colors are really pretty together. I think it's going to be very graphic and very like bold, even though the colors are a bit darker. So I don't have too much more to say about it. I'm making the larger size because go big or go home. And I had enough yarn to make the larger size. So yeah, I think this will be one that I probably just do like a check-in whenever I like finish a section or make significant progress on it. So this first section especially I think is probably going to take a while, and that's fine. But yes, very excited about that. And then I also have yarn in stash to cast on a half and half triangles wrap. So I think I'm going to try and finish this first and then maybe cast that on. But I also feel like in my mind, the half and half wrap, especially the larger size, which is the one I'm planning to make, is almost more like a blanket project. Like I feel like it might take me years to finish. So I'm kind of considering casting that on and storing it like with my other blankets and just kind of treating it as a blanket where it's just going to be a super ongoing whip and not as something that I need to like be making a lot of active progress on. It's just more there for when I need it. So I may do that. We'll see. Okay, that is the Vertices Unite. Oops. I have this little post-it note on the front of my bin to tell me which color is which, and I need to make sure that I don't lose that. I love these. These are hay crates. This is what I use to keep most of my projects in, but there's these little like brackets on the front and it just perfectly holds like a small post-it note. So anytime I need like info like that, I'll just like tape one on there. Okay, next up is a summer project, a summer tank, and I've barely begun, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. This is going to be the Oolong tank by Amy Scher. Here is a picture of what it will look like. It is available up to a 67.25 inch bust, and it recommends about 1.5 inches of positive ease from your upper bust measurement. So that would be measured like here versus being measured at the full bust. It does come with bust start options, which is great. And I am making size 5, which is the 47.25 inch full bust, giving me a little over 3 inches of positive ease at the full bust. And I chose to make a size with a little bit more positive ease just because I know I want this to be a little bit more oversized and fit a little bit more loosely on me. So the yarn I am using is, do I have a tag, is this. It is Kelborn Woolens Mojave, 60% cotton, 40% linen, and it comes in 50-gram skeins. This color is slate gray. So it's a really pretty dark bluish gray and very exciting. I'm still on the ribbing. So I don't have too much to show. This is a bottom-up pattern, and it starts with a whole bunch of ribbing, 1.5 inches, which doesn't seem like that much, but when you're knitting it on, you know, 2.75 millimeter needles or whatever it is, it's pretty slow going. So here's the ribbing. I probably don't even have 1 inch done yet. I still have a ways to go. However, I have right now only been working on this when I'm walking on my treadmill, because I was trying to knit socks while I was walking, but those were making my hands sweaty and I felt like I needed a natural fiber. So this has been great for walking and knitting, but that just means, you know, even if I walk for like an hour with this many stitches, I'm not getting that much done. It's also half twisted ribbing, so the knits are knit through the back loop, which slows me down a little bit more. It's 1x1 ribbing. So I think once I get through the ribbing, it's gonna kind of fly. I just need to get through the ribbing first. The yarn's really nice to work with. It doesn't have a ton of elasticity because of the plant fibers, which when I'm knitting stockinette doesn't bother me at all, but knitting ribbing is a little bit trickier without that elasticity. So just one more reason that this ribbing is taking a bit longer than it normally would. However, I am getting through it. I would say I'm probably like at least halfway through the ribbing. So let's see, how many rows have I done? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7. So I probably have about 6 or 7 rows left to go. And then we'll be starting the body and working that really pretty lace panel. And then we'll be off to the races. I do have my very funny F-Bomb stitch markers on here, or stitch stoppers, which I got at Nina Chicago when I was there in February. So yes, not too much to share here right now, but another summer top on the go. All right, next I have a very exciting cast on, and I think you'll see that this one has like kind of consumed my life for the past 4 or 5 days. Let me grab something I forgot to grab. Okay, I'm back. I forgot something I needed. So I purchased from another local knitter's D-stash 7 skeins of this yarn that all came together in, like, they were all sold together. There were 4 different colors, and I have 2 skeins of each color except for the blue. So I will show you this yarn. Here it is. This is Autumn and Indigo Fibers, which I'm not sure if this is still being made. I was trying to see if I could purchase an additional skein of the 4th color, and I could not like easily find the information for this yarn. So I need to do a little bit more research about that. But I've definitely like heard of them before, so I'm not sure. If you know what's up with them, please leave a comment and let me know. This is the Local DK base. It is 100% American Rambouillet, 255 yards to 100 grams. So here are 3 of the colors. These are the 3 that I had 2 skeins of. So this one is called Old World. The middle one is called Shiitake, this one. And this green one is called Cane. So the middle one definitely reads more pink to me than like mushroomy, but I don't know. Yeah, so I have these three, and then I also have a blue, which you'll see in the project. This is the type of yarn I was just talking about with my Yun sweater that I just have learned that I love so much. This is my favorite kind of yarn. It's 100% American wool, non-superwash, wool and spun, super light and fluffy. I just love it. I especially love it in like a DK or worsted weight. I think that's kind of like my happy spot. And it's just so plump and squishy and soft, but it weighs like nothing. Like, it's amazing. So the one thing I will say about this yarn is there's a ton of VM in it. So even as I was like winding up the skeins, little pieces of hay and grass were just like raining down like from the ball binder. So there's a lot of VM in this yarn, but I mean, that's on track with it being like a fairly rustic kind of farm yarn. The Rambouillet is beautiful. I've not worked with 100% Rambouillet before, and I love it. It's so nice. So what am I making with this, you might ask? I was not planning to cast this on right away. So funny story, this yarn was being shipped to me from this person's D-stash from like a couple towns over in Ohio where I live. And it's normally that would take like a day or two to arrive. So I was like waiting for it. It's not coming. So I start tracking it, and somehow it ended up in like Montana. Like, I don't know what the USPS was doing, but this yarn was like out for delivery in Columbus, and then 4 days later it was in Billings, Montana, and then thankfully found its way back to me, but it took way longer than it should have. So by the time it arrived, I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to like see this yarn. And I opened it and I just was like, I have to cast it on immediately, which I was not planning to do because it's another woolly sweater, but I just had to. So I sat down, I went through my pattern library, and I found the perfect pattern, which is the Northwoods V-neck by Jessie May. Here's a picture. I saved this design when it came out like last year or 2 years ago. I love it. This yarn is actually very similar, almost identical to the recommended yarn. So that worked out perfectly. And I cast it on and I finished the yoke. So here you can see, let me just show half of it. Here you can see this is the fourth color, this really pretty soft blue. I could not put this down. I knit this amount in basically 3 days. I love it. So yes, I started with the light pink, did the neck shaping, the first stripe, then I did the green, the old world kind of dusty clay color, and then the blue. And now that I've joined in the round, I am starting back over with the pink. I do anticipate only getting 2 more stripes in. So I'll have the whole pink, the whole green, and then I think I'm gonna do the ribbing in the clay color, which works out perfectly because I also only have 1 ball of the blue. So I think I'll have the 1 blue stripe on the body and then 1 blue stripe on each sleeve, and that's gonna be it, and that'll be perfect. It's so light, it's so beautiful. I think it's when it blocks, a lot of that kind of texture is gonna even out so beautifully. I do have a little bit of rowing out, which maybe is more visible on the back. I don't know, actually it looks pretty good. There's a little bit, but I was really trying to make the tension on my purl rows a little bit tighter to combat that. But yes, so this is knit top down. Let me give you all the information. I'm getting ahead of myself. The pattern's by Jessie May. It is available up to a 68-inch bust with a recommended 6 to 8 inches of positive ease. I'm making size 5, 52-inch bust, which gives me about 8 inches of positive ease because I want it to just be like big and oversized and cozy. And I have had an issue with some of the numbers in the pattern, which I'll talk about now. So yes, you start knitting the back across the whole back, and you work these short rows, and then you start just working down on the stripes. I think for my size, the first set of short rows that you work, after you work the short rows, it says something like, and this is a paid for pattern, so I'm not going to give too much away, but once you finish the short row section and you're going to work the rest of this pink stripe, this first stripe, the instruction is something like repeat knit purl 4 more times, meaning a total of like 10 times. So a total of 10 rows, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. I think it should have been 4 total, meaning 8 rows, because after that instruction, I have since, like according to all the rest of the numbers in the pattern, had 2 extra rows. And since I finished this, I had to kind of finagle all the rest of the numbers because my initial pink stripe was 2 rows too long. So then I kind of had to account for that in like shaping the V-neck. Not a big deal, something I could easily like figure out as I went, but I do just want to call that out. For size 5, I think that instruction is incorrect, or the number given is incorrect. So I need to like dive into that again once I'm finished with this, figure out where the issue is, and then I will email Jessie and let her know, because I think it might just be this size that has the issue. But I want to make sure, and of course make sure that it wasn't my issue and I wasn't misreading something, but that is something that I have dealt with in knitting the yoke. However, now that we're joined in the round, it's just round and round and have not had any issues. So yes, it does have this really big dramatic open V-neck, and the reason that looks so enormous is because there's a really chunky ribbing on the neckline. So that's gonna add like 2 to 3 inches in here. I did my gauge. My stitch gauge is spot on. My row gauge is a little bit bigger, a little bit longer than in the pattern. So in the pattern, each of Jessie's stripes are about 2.75 inches long. Mine are about 3 inches. So in order to compensate for that, because I didn't want the V-neck to be too low, like it's already coming really low, I increased more frequently right at the end of the V-neck, just so that it would be about 1 inch higher to compensate for that length. Hopefully that makes sense. So I think it turned out right about where it should be. And like I said, I've just joined in the round and now it's just knit, knit, knit. And yeah, I'm really excited. I love how it looks. I love how like soft the colors are together, but they still have a lot of distinction. Like these two are very similar in value, but one's obviously pink and one's green. These, same thing, very similar in value, but you have like the warm and the cool. So yeah, I love how it looks. I'm really happy with the order I put the stripes in. I played around with that a bit. I think I will do the the neck ribbing and the bottom band ribbing in this color, and then the sleeve ribbing will just be whatever color I end on, like when the sleeves are long enough. And I'm loving it. I like could not put it down the past couple of days. This was all I wanted to work on. Yeah, I love it. Northwoods V-neck by Jessie May. Very, very enjoyable, especially now that I'm in the round. I don't know about you, but when I'm knitting, like anything like drop shoulder especially, or anything where there's like a knitting flat portion at the beginning, I always just want to like speed through that. Like I feel like I have to finish that part so I can just like get to the knitting in the round part and then I can like relax. So yeah, I just kept being like, oh well, I can finish this part today and then I can finish this part, and it compelled me to finish the knitting flat part. So yes, I'm excited to be knitting in the round on this now, and I have to imagine I'm gonna finish it fairly soon just because it's so enjoyable to knit on. And I think the stripes too, even though they're like pretty big stripes, just knowing that you can count down like, okay, I only have however many more rows, like that's kind of an addictive feeling. So for me, this is going to be, I think, a very quick knit and very enjoyable. All right, one more. Still there? Oh my God, I'm lying, I have 2 more. I'm so sorry. 2 more. Okay, one more garment and then a blanket. So I will try and go through this one a little bit more quickly. All right, Line Magazine is currently hosting a knit along for the Linto Love cowl. This is a pattern I've knitted twice before for a previous knit along. The pattern is by Yona Heelan. It was from Lina magazine issue 11. It is a really basic, simple raglan. Here's a quick picture. Like I said, I've knitted twice before. This is my third one. It's available up to a 67.25 inch bust with a recommended 5 inches of positive ease. I'm making size 5, which is a 50.75 inch bust, giving me closer to 7 inches of positive ease, just because I know I want this to be like really cozy, oversized, like thrown on over a dress, over a skirt, anything. And it's a really fun, exciting color. It's black. So I really wasn't planning to join this knit along, but I cast off my Yoon sweater and I was kind of craving like another simple stockinette garment, and I cast this on before I cast on the Northwoods V-neck, even though that really wasn't like stockinette in the round until right now. So I had purchased this yarn to make a basic black sweater, and I just kind of decided I'm gonna cast it on as part of the cowl, and we'll just see if, you know, just to get it cast on, because it's black knitting season, my friends. The sun is out. It's time to knit your black garments now while you can see them. So here's what I have. The pattern calls for a double folded neckband. I decided to omit that on this version and just knit 9 rounds of the neck ribbing. Oh, it's getting really blown out. I knit the double folded neckband on the other 2 versions, and I don't dislike it. I just kind of wanted to try an even more basic, like flat neck version. Is this not? There we go. The yarns I'm using are Knit Picks Gloss DK fingering weight, which is this. It is a 70% superwash merino, 30% silk blend. So it's just really nice and soft and drapey. And then I'm using Knit Picks Aloft in black also, which is just their lace weight mohair. So yeah, pretty affordable yarns. I picked these up with the intention of making basically this. I was either going to make a linto or a love note, and decided that I would probably get more wear out of the linto, especially with the mohair. So yeah, here it is. I'm just working on the raglan increases. It is a little bit sheer, which I think will be nice over dress or whatever. You know, when you're wearing it, it's a little bit less sheer, but yeah, nothing too crazy to report. I do think they have, so the first few versions I made, there was a slight error in the pattern about the increases, and I think that they've corrected it. So that was good to see. I had the same exact issue in the pattern on the first 2 versions I made, but I did not see that same issue when I was rereading the pattern this time. So maybe that was, no, I'm pretty sure it was the pattern because I remember taking a picture of it. Anyway, it's been corrected. Or I was completely misreading it in the past, but I think that it's been corrected. So regardless, this is a great basic raglan. Like I said, it's my 3rd time knitting it. I definitely recommend it. And I think this one is going to be super, super versatile, kind of a wardrobe staple for me. It's just not the most fun thing in the world to knit, but I'm still enjoying it. It's a nice yarn combination. Okay, actually last one. This is a fun one though. I have really been in like a blanket mood lately and just been kind of addicted to this like garter stitch DK squishiness. And on Anina UT, I always want to call her Ani UT Knits, that's the name of her podcast, which I can tag below also. Anina just released a new blanket pattern, and I, again, didn't have plans really to cast it on, but then I was watching her podcast where she was talking about it, and I just got the urge to go into my stash and pull everything out and cast one on, and so I did. So the yarns I'm using, I'm doing a main color, and then I'm using minis and scraps for the contrasting colors. So my main color is this, which I have 5 skeins of. This is Madeline Tosh DK something. It's Superwash. The color is Cold Drip, which I love this color. And I was originally planning to make a garment out of this. Like I said, I have 5 skeins. However, when I lined them up, 3 of them were obviously a really different dye lot than the other 2. Like some of them are much darker and the others are a little bit lighter and like more yellow. And I just did not want to have to deal with that in a garment. So I decided they'd be perfect for this blanket. So that's my main color. And then what I'm using for the contrast color are mostly, for the most part, it's the Advent Skein minis that I got in my Camellia Fiber Co. Advent last year that I just really was like not super thrilled with. All the colors were super light and desaturated to the point that they almost all looked the same to me. Like I was really not very happy with that Advent. And then I had a couple other little more colorful scraps that I've also included. So let me show you. It's a little hard to show right now because this section is on cords, on like try-it-on cords. But yeah, here's what I have. It's so fun. This is the Zigzag Zen blanket. So you start with this little section here. I can also put a picture in here of what like the whole blanket looks like. And she has multiple sizes in the pattern, but I'm just kind of gonna go until I run out of minis, and then that's gonna be the end. So yes, you can see that main color, the brown, and then this was a different scrap that I had that was like a little bit of a brighter green. This is one of the Camellia Fiber Co. colors. So it's modular, so you knit words. You knit this square here, and then you knit this square here, and then you turn and you start knitting a rectangle. And then you turn and you start knitting that same size rectangle on this side. So right now I'm working out this way, and then I'll work back across the top. So yeah, I think it's really, really fun. The colors are working up really nice in the blanket. So I think with we've got some like greens and pinks, and with the brown, it's kind of giving like a mint chocolate chip ice cream. I'm really like enjoying it a lot. It's just garter. It's just, I'm weaving in the ends as I go using the Weave and Steven technique by Stephen West. Here's the back. Yeah, I know, again, no deadline, no specific end use in mind, but just a great way to use up some yarns I didn't really have a plan for, and I think they're gonna look really nice in this context. And it's some more nice, squishy, heavy garter. I did realize that all my other blankets, my crochet blankets that I've been working on, have non-superwash yarns in them, so they will not be machine washable. So my thought with this one is I will only use superwash yarns, it'll be machine washable, and then maybe we can keep it somewhere where like the cats have access to it, because with the others, they're gonna have to be kept like in the craft room or somewhere that the cats can't get to them because they won't be getting washed as frequently. So this is probably going to be like a living room blanket is my thought. But yeah, oh look, I messed something up right there. But you know what? It doesn't matter because it's just a garter blanket. So that is it. Those are all the new cast-ons. I've just been casting on whatever my little heart desires and having a great old time. So I didn't even realize I had this many new cast-ons, like I said, until I started pulling them all out, but I've been having a lot of fun with them. So yeah, I'm curious if you find spring to be like a season of new cast-ons for you, or if you are just like a monogamous knitter, let me know. All right, moving on to acquisitions. I only have one, and it was a gift from a lovely viewer, and I meant to share it on the last podcast, but I forgot, so I'm sharing it today. One of our viewers, which I really hope that I'm not mispronouncing your name. If I am, please leave me a comment and let me know the correct way so I can like correct it on the next video. But I think it's Laura Donna, I'm not sure, sent me a copy of their pattern, their own sock pattern that they designed on Ravelry. as a gift, and that was so sweet. So I wanted to share it with you all because it's also a beautiful pattern. So this is the Amity Socks pattern. Here is a picture, and I just thought these were so beautiful, the cables and the texture, and that was such a sweet gift, and I really appreciated it. So thank you so much, and I'm excited to definitely try knitting your pattern at some point. And thank you again, it was very sweet. No other acquisitions this week. However, we do have some acquisition heavy events coming up. So next weekend is local yarn store day, and I am planning to get out to 2 or 3 of the local stores, probably with my mom. We'll go together, and I'm sure I will be coming home with some goodies. And then the weekend after that, which I'll probably podcast again before then, but we'll see. The weekend after that is my favorite event of the year. It's Crafty Christmas. It is the supply swap at So to Speak, which is one of our local craft stores. It is where like you bring anything you don't want anymore, other people bring stuff they don't want anymore, and you just take whatever you want home and it's all free. It's like a total swap. I love it. I always come home with bags full of treasure. My goal this year is to be a little bit more selective about what I bring home with me, because I have found that things I've picked up in the past, I've not ended up using. But I do feel like when you're there, it gets a little bit frantic and you're like, oh, I need that. So I'm gonna try and be a little more like, it's okay if I don't bring home like a million things. I only wanna bring home things that I think I'm actually gonna use. So anyway, I think I'm gonna have a couple acquisition heavier episodes coming up. So that's it for that section today. I did have a few things I wanted to just chat about with you all though and update you on, because there's been a lot going on here. So first of all, 2-3 weekends ago, I had friends visiting from out of town staying with us for the first time. So we had 3 friends staying with us, one from New York, a couple from Pittsburgh, and we had a great time. It was just really lovely. We ate great food, we did fun things, the weather was perfect. But the main event was my friend from New York and I went to see Rebecca Yarros, who is the author of Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. The Columbus Metropolitan Library had her as a guest speaker, so which turned into like a huge event. It was the biggest author talk they've ever hosted. They had to move it to like a huge auditorium at Ohio State's campus. There was probably like 2,000 people there, and it's a free event. Which was so amazing. So yeah, we went and got to see Rebecca Yarros talk, and she's so wonderful. She's very funny, very sassy, but also very vulnerable. And it made me so excited, not only for the 3rd book in that series, which is coming out in January, but also I just like immediately wanted to start rereading the other books. And right now I'm currently rereading the ACOTAR series, so I'm gonna finish that, but then I'm gonna reread Iron Flame and Fourth Wing again. So that was really fun. And Moo's yelling now, so I'll try and wrap this up fairly quickly. Okay, buddy, it's okay. All right, he's just gonna do that. So we also had the eclipse. So the Monday after they were all here, we had the eclipse, and Columbus was in the path of totality, which was so cool. We just went to my partner's parents' house, which was in the path of totality to watch, and it was so eerie. If you did get to experience it, like, wasn't it so cool? And if not, it got so eerie outside. Like, it was like twilight, like the street lamps came on, even though it was like the middle of the afternoon. It got so dark, it got so cold, like a noticeable temperature drop. Like it felt like 10 degrees within like 20 minutes, and like all the animals went quiet. Like, and then I mean, you see these photos of the eclipse, but like a camera can only capture it in so much, you know, like in those really extreme like black background and light around the sun. But that's not what it looks like in real life. Like there's still light, everything is like purple, and it's just like shiny. Like it was just incredible. Like I've never seen anything like it. We had about 30 seconds of totality here, but in some areas, like a lot of our friends went up to Cleveland, they had about 3 minutes of totality, which was so cool. And Troy and his family are very into all the like astronomical events, and he was using his like fancy camera and solar lens to like try and like get some great photos, and he did. And maybe I'll put one in if I can, a couple of his eclipse photos in here if I can get them from him. So that was pretty amazing. Kind of a once in a lifetime kind of thing, and it was so cool. So I hope that you got to experience it, or at least saw some cool footage. The fun thing I'm doing this afternoon is I'm getting a tattoo, and it's a knitting tattoo. So I have on my left arm this tattoo here, which is, it says Porcelain Ivory Steel, which is a Game of Thrones reference. And I love the placement. This is my own handwriting, love how it looks, but I've always felt like I needed one on my right arm too, because I feel like imbalanced. And I've always known I was going to get one on this side as well, but I didn't know what I wanted it to say. And I've been thinking for a while about getting a knitting tattoo. So I decided that I'm going to get the same format. It's going to be 3 words with the little dots separating them in my own handwriting, same size, but it's going to say knit, purl, repeat. So I'm going to get that this afternoon, and I'm really excited. I haven't gotten any tattoos in like 5 years. I feel like I got all of them in like a couple of years, and then it's been a while. So I'm not like covered. I mean, I have my bee, which is the first one I got. Then I got my orchid, and then I got this one. And then I got this little sun and moon. I got those in Italy with my friend and my sister. We all got like sun and moon tattoos. They're all a little bit different. So yeah, that's all I have for now. They're just all there on my arms, but I'm excited to have this other one, and there's so many more I want. So if you have any crafting tattoos, please let me know in the comments. I am always curious about if people have crafting tattoos. So that's exciting, going to do that in a couple of hours. And last but not least, I wanted to tell you about a special episode that I am planning. So my mom is also an avid crafter. She is the crochet queen. She taught me how to crochet when I was little, and it's all snowballed from there. So for Mother's Day, we're gonna record an episode together. And I'm really excited for you all to meet her, and I think it'll be really fun. She's gonna show you what she's working on and some of her like favorite projects. I'm gonna show you an update on my crochet blanket and maybe some of my other projects, I'm not sure yet. It's gonna be a little bit more of a crochet focused episode, but also just about like crafting in general and our experiences with it. But I also thought we might do like a little Q&A session. So if you have any questions for me, or me and my mom, whatever, leave them in a comment down below. It could be anything. It could be about me personally, which I may or may not answer, but please leave them below. It could be about crafting, knitting, crochet, anything like that, or just random fun questions. I thought that could be something fun for us to do together, and we'll see how that goes. So yeah, I am planning to record that with her the weekend of Mother's Day. So that'll be like a fun special episode. All right, so yeah, to recap, please, if you have any questions for that Q&A for me and my mom about crafting, please leave those below. Please also let me know if you have a crafty tattoo or want one. I'm really curious. And thank you so much for watching. I'm happy to be getting back to my more regular, like every 2 week schedule. And I'm just really loving all of my projects right now, and I'm feeling like bursting with creative energy. So yeah. That's it for today. Thank you for watching. Please like the video. Please subscribe. It really helps to grow the channel if you haven't already. And I will see you again in a couple of weeks. Bye.